Treasury Secretary Yellen sending a letter to congressional leadership on the debt limit this morning. Our Yellen Moy joins us from Washington with details. Hi, Yellen.
Well, hi, Carl. That letter says that the nation has begun using extraordinary measures in order to keep paying its bills as of today. But in the letter, she says that the time frame for how long those measures could last is uncertain. She says, quote, that the period of time that the extraordinary measures may last is subject to considerable uncertainty, including the challenges of forecasting the payments and receipts of the U.S. government months into the future. And she respectfully urges Congress to act promptly to protect the full faith and credit of the United States. Now, House Republicans have said that they will not agree to any increase in the debt limit without significant spending cuts. And in fact, they're discussing a bill that would let Treasury prioritize certain payments if the debt ceiling is not raised. Now, that's an extremely controversial maneuver, and I'm told that this proposal was part of the agreement that conservatives struck with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and that the House intends to vote on this during the first quarter, even though it'll never pass the Senate, where Democrats are in control. In Davos, J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon said that Congress needs to stop pointing fingers.
We should never question the creditworthiness of the United States government. That is sacrosanct. It should never happen. Now, of course, Democrats are going to blame the Republicans, and Republicans are blaming the Democrats. I don't care who blames who. Even question is the wrong thing to do. That is just a part of the financial structure of the world. And, this is not something you should be playing games with at all.
Democratic Senator Joe Manchin told CNBC that he has spoken with McCarthy about a bipartisan bill that would create rescue committees that could revamp federal trust funds. Another bipartisan bill would give the president the authority to raise the debt ceiling on his own, but still allow Congress to override him. Guys, Republicans and Democrats are on a collision course right now, and it's not a good sign that some lawmakers are already looking for an escape hatch. Back over to you.
As it stands right now, Ilana, as concerning as this is, it is a slow-moving collision course if the Treasury can buy time until the summer. So when is the expectation that we actually see lawmakers come together and truly start to strike a deal, if that is something that does indeed happen? I mean, is it going to happen now? Is it going to happen in the spring, coming into the summer? Thought process?
I think what we're going to see first is a lot of messaging bills. I would expect the House to have a vote on that prioritization of payments bill that I mentioned earlier. You would also expect the House to vote on a bill that would reduce federal spending, some sort of budget blueprint that would set a path for cutting spending down the road. All of those things aren't going to go anywhere. And so after you see a lot of things fail, that's when lawmakers then have to sort of pick up the ball and say, OK, where can we go from here? And you're probably not going to see any real compromise or solutions until we get down to that deadline. And I think that's why investors are so worried, because this is all going to come down to the wire.